The biting wind cut through the alleys of Washington, D.C. as the city bustled with holiday cheer. Twinkling lights adorned every lamppost, casting a warm glow on the bustling crowds. Families laughed, shoppers hurried along with wrapped packages, and the smell of roasted chestnuts filled the air. But beneath the glittering facade, the reality of the city was far less magical for some. At the corner of 14th and G Street, a worn-out figure huddled beneath a ragged military jacket. Her knees drawn to her chest, she sought warmth from the cold pavement. Her once proud posture, an echo of years serving her country, was now slouched beneath the weight of exhaustion and hopelessness. The woman's name was Sergeant Amanda Reynolds, a decorated Marine Corps veteran who had served 2 tours in Afghanistan. A passerby glanced at the cardboard sign trembling in her hands. USMC veteran, homeless and hungry. Anything helps. God bless. Most people didn't stop. Some avoided eye contact altogether while others cast pitying glances and hurried past. Amanda had long grown used to the indifference. It wasn't the stares that hurt anymore, it was the silence. She wasn't always like this. Just 3 years ago, Amanda stood tall, leading a squad of Marines through the rugged deserts of Helmand Province. She had faced danger head-on, survived IED blasts, and earned a Purple Heart for her valor. But war had a way of following you home. After returning to civilian life, Amanda struggled with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. The nights were the worst, flashbacks haunted her, memories of comrades lost played on an endless loop. The spiral came quickly. Sleepless nights turned into missed workdays. She tried to hold on, but the weight of unseen wounds made it impossible. When the medical bills piled up and her VA benefits were delayed, Amanda lost her apartment. Without family to turn to, the streets became her only refuge. Tonight, like every night, Amanda clung to a sliver of hope. She had heard rumors about a veteran assistance program that might offer shelter, but the waiting list stretched months long. Winter was coming fast and the cold was unforgiving. As darkness fell, headlights flashed across her face. A sleek black limousine slowed to a stop just feet away. Amanda lowered her gaze, expecting another politician or CEO to sweep by without a second thought. Instead, the door swung open and a man's voice pierced the cold air. "Miss, are you all right?" Amanda looked up, squinting through the city lights. At first, she thought her exhausted mind was playing tricks on her. But there was no mistaking the distinctive golden hair and the powerful presence standing before her. It was Donald J. Trump, the 47th President of the United States. She blinked hard, half expecting the vision to disappear. But there he stood in a crisp navy suit, his signature red tie cutting a bold contrast against the night. Amanda's heart pounded in her chest. Why would the most powerful man in the country stop for someone like her? Her voice cracked from disuse. "I'm fine, sir." He stepped closer, his expression shifting from curiosity to concern. "You're a Marine?" He gestured toward her faded jacket where the eagle, globe, and anchor emblem was barely visible. "Yes, Mr. President. I served in Afghanistan." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then, to Amanda's shock, Trump extended a hand. "Come on," he said, his voice softer. "Let's get you out of the cold." Amanda hesitated. Years of rejection had taught her not to trust easily. But something in his gaze, something genuine, made her fingers twitch toward his outstretched hand. And just like that, her life was about to change forever. Amanda hesitated, her fingers trembling as they hovered over the president's outstretched hand. For months, no one had seen her, really seen her. But here was the most powerful man in the country, standing in front of her like she mattered. "Come on," Trump said again, his tone gentler now. "Let's get you warm." Her pride fought against her need. She had once been strong, leading Marines into combat zones and carrying the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Accepting help felt like surrender. But the bitter wind gnawed at her bones, and deep down, she knew she wouldn't survive many more nights on the street. Slowly, she placed her calloused hand in his. A Secret Service agent rushed forward, eyeing Amanda cautiously, but Trump waved him off. "She's coming with us." Without another word, he guided her toward the waiting limousine. Amanda swallowed her fear as she stepped inside. The warmth hit her like a wave, and her entire body shuddered in response. The interior was a world she didn't belong in, soft leather seats, polished wood panels, and the faint scent of expensive cologne. Amanda shrank into the corner, gripping the edges of her worn-out jacket as if it might keep her grounded. Trump settled across from her, studying her with an intensity that made her squirm. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sergeant Amanda Reynolds, sir," she answered, her voice barely above a whisper. He nodded as if committing the name to memory. "You're not supposed to be out there," he said, his voice edged with a rare softness. "No veteran should be." Amanda looked down at her hands. They were rough, scarred, and dirted from months of surviving on the streets. I didn't plan for it to happen, she admitted. But when I came back, things fell apart. PTSD. Medical bills. I tried to fight through it, but her voice faltered. I lost everything. For a moment, the hum of the limousine's engine filled the silence. Then, to her surprise, Trump leaned forward, his expression serious. I'm going to fix this, he said. You fought for this country, now it's time someone fought for you. Amanda blinked back tears she didn't know she still had. Promises were easy to make, she'd heard plenty before. But something about the way he said it made her want to believe. The limousine pulled to a stop in front of a towering building, the iconic Trump International Hotel. The grand entrance, with its glittering chandeliers and uniformed staff, felt like another world. Amanda hesitated, glancing down at her worn-out jeans and combat boots. I don't belong here, she said quietly. Trump turned back, his voice firm. You belong anywhere you want to be. The next few hours passed in a blur. Staff members, moving with quiet efficiency, led her to a luxurious suite on the top floor. For the first time in months, she took a hot shower, scrubbing away the grime of street life. When she stepped out, a fresh set of clothes awaited, simple but comfortable. As Amanda ran a comb through her tangled hair, she caught her reflection in the mirror. For so long, she had seen only a shadow of herself. A broken woman barely holding on. But tonight, for the first time, hope flickered in her eyes. A knock on the door pulled her from her thoughts. She opened it to find Trump standing there, a steaming cup of coffee in hand. He offered it to her without ceremony, and she accepted with a quiet thank you. I meant what I said, he began, leaning against the doorframe. I'm not leaving you behind. Tomorrow I'm making some calls. We're going to get you the help you need, and more. Amanda's throat tightened with emotion. Why? She asked. Why are you doing this for me? Trump's expression softened. Because no American who served this country should be forgotten. You gave your best. Now it's time this country does the same for you. For the first time in what felt like forever, Amanda allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, her story wasn't over yet. The morning sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Trump International Hotel suite. For the first time in months, Amanda Reynolds woke up in a bed, an actual bed, with warm blankets and a pillow soft as a cloud. For a moment, she forgot where she was. The familiar ache in her joints and the chill in her bones were gone. She sat up slowly, her heart pounding as the reality hit her. Last night wasn't a dream. The President of the United States had seen her, really seen her, and had pulled her out of the cold. A soft knock at the door made her jump. Before she could respond, the door opened slightly. A hotel staff member entered, rolling in a breakfast cart loaded with eggs, bacon, fresh fruit, and a pot of coffee. Amanda's stomach twisted in hunger. It had been too long since she'd had a real meal. Mr. Trump asked me to make sure you were comfortable, ma'am, the woman said kindly. If you need anything, just call. Amanda nodded her thanks, barely able to find her voice. She ate slowly at first, years of discipline still etched into her, before hunger took over. For once, the gnawing emptiness in her stomach faded. As she finished, another knock echoed through the room. This time, it was him. Donald Trump stood in the doorway wearing his signature navy suit and red tie. How are you feeling? He asked, his voice direct but not unkind. Amanda set down her coffee cup. Better than I have in a long time, Mr. President. Thank you for everything. He waved a hand dismissively. Call me Trump, he said. And you don't need to thank me. I told you I'm going to fix this. He stepped aside, allowing another figure to enter, a tall man in a crisp suit holding a leather briefcase. This is Stephen, Trump explained. He's one of the best lawyers in the country. We're going to get your benefits restored. Whatever red tape's holding you back, we're cutting through it today. Amanda's heart raced. She had spent the last year battling the system, filling out endless paperwork, waiting months for callbacks that never came. Now, with a single phone call from the president, the wheels of power were turning in her favor. Stephen pulled out a legal pad. Sergeant Reynolds, I just need some details to get started. When did you apply for your VA benefits? Amanda took a deep breath, steadying herself. I filed my claim 2 years ago. PTSD, chronic pain, but every time I follow up, they say my case is pending review. I've been living on nothing but broken promises since then. Trump's jaw tightened. Unacceptable. We're fixing it today. He turned to Stephen. I want a direct line to the VA secretary. Tell them this isn't just a case, it's a priority. Stephen nodded and left the room, already dialing his phone. Amanda shook her head in disbelief. I don't understand. Why are you going so far to help me? Trump's expression softened just slightly. Because people like you built this country, he said. You gave everything. The least we can do is give back. Besides, he added with a half-smile, I'm not exactly known for sitting around and letting problems fester. For the first time in years, Amanda laughed, a quiet, rusty sound that felt strange and wonderful. Now, Trump continued, his tone shifting back to business. We're not stopping at benefits. I want to know your dreams. What do you want, Sergeant? The question stunned her. No one had asked her that in years. The street life had been about survival, dreams felt like a luxury long forgotten. She fumbled for words, feeling a spark reignite somewhere deep inside. I wanted to help other veterans, she said quietly. When I got out, I planned to start a nonprofit. Something to support soldiers like me, ones who fall through the cracks. But life, it didn't work out that way. Trump leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with interest. Why not? What stopped you? A bitter smile crossed her face. No money. No connections. When you're homeless, people stop listening. It's like you become invisible. For a moment, Trump was silent. Then he clapped his hands together decisively. Not anymore, he said. You want to help veterans? Let's make it happen. Amanda's heart thudded. I wouldn't know where to start. Trump grinned. Good thing I do. Within the hour, things moved faster than Amanda could process. Stephen returned with good news, the VA had reopened her case. Within days, her overdue benefits would be processed. But Trump wasn't done. He made calls to business leaders, veterans groups, and philanthropists. Doors that had been slammed shut for years were opening wide. By the end of the day, Amanda wasn't just a homeless veteran anymore. She was the future founder of Operation Second Chance, a nonprofit dedicated to helping veterans rebuild their lives. And with Trump's personal backing, she knew it would succeed. As night fell, Amanda stood by the hotel window, gazing at the Washington Monument glowing in the distance. Less than 24 hours ago, she had been another forgotten soldier. Now, her life was filled with possibility again. And it all started because one man stopped and chose to care. 3 months had passed since that cold night on the Washington, D.C. streets. 3 months since Donald Trump had stopped and changed Amanda Reynolds' life forever. In that time, everything had transformed. Amanda no longer slept beneath crumpled newspapers or trembled against the winter wind. Instead, she was sitting at a polished oak desk in a bright, modern office. The sign on the glass door read, Operation Second Chance, helping veterans rebuild. With Trump's backing, Amanda's nonprofit had become a reality. And not just a reality, a movement. Donations poured in from private benefactors and corporate sponsors. Veterans from all over the country reached out, seeking help and offering to volunteer. What once seemed like a distant dream was now a living, breathing mission. Amanda exhaled slowly, glancing at the stack of case files on her desk. Each one represented a veteran in crisis, people like her who had been cast aside after serving their country. But now she had the power to make a difference. And she intended to. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. It was Stephen, the sharp-eyed lawyer Trump had introduced her to months ago. He walked in carrying a thick manila folder. We got it, he said, his voice triumphant. Full back pay from the VA. Every penny they owed you. Amanda stared in disbelief as he placed a check in front of her, a staggering sum that felt almost unreal. Tears burned at the corners of her eyes. After years of fighting, of being ignored and dismissed, the government had finally acknowledged what she was owed. She swallowed hard. I don't know how to thank you or him. Stephen smiled. You're already doing it. This Operation Second Chance, it's the reason he pushed so hard for you. He knew you wouldn't just save yourself. You'd turn around and save others. Amanda nodded, the weight of responsibility settling in her chest, but this was a weight she welcomed. She had found a purpose again, something bigger than herself. As Stephen left, Amanda's phone buzzed. The caller ID made her heart skip. POTUS. She quickly picked up. Mr. President, she greeted, the awe still lingering in her voice. Trump, he corrected with a chuckle. I hear you're making waves over there, Sergeant. Good work. Amanda smiled. I couldn't have done it without you, sir. Nonsense, he said firmly. You had the fight in you the whole time. I just gave it a push. Now tell me, how many veterans have you helped so far? She scanned the reports on her desk. We've provided housing support to over 120 veterans, mental health counseling to 50 more, and we're expanding to job placement next month. That's tremendous, Trump said, his voice warm. But we're just getting started. I want you to join me at the White House next week. We're signing a new bill for veteran support, and I want you there front and center. Amanda's breath caught. At the White House? You earned it, he said simply. And the world needs to see what happens when we stop talking and start doing. When the call ended, Amanda sat in stunned silence. Less than a year ago, she had felt invisible, another statistic lost in a broken system. Now, she was heading to the White House as the face of real, tangible change. And yet, beneath her pride, a familiar pang tugged at her heart. For every veteran she helped, thousands more still struggled in the shadows. She thought of the women she'd slept beside under the overpass. The men who had been her brothers in arms, now lost in addiction or despair. Amanda knew this fight wasn't over. But with Trump's support and her own relentless drive, she would never stop. Not until every veteran had the dignity, care, and future they deserved. A week later, at the White House. The day arrived in a blur of preparation. Amanda stood in the East Room of the White House, her Marine Corps ribbons gleaming against the tailored navy blue blazer Trump's team had provided. Cameras flashed and the buzz of media filled the air as journalists eagerly awaited the signing of the Veterans Recovery and Reintegration Act, a bill inspired in part by her story. When Donald Trump entered the room, the energy shifted. Love him or hate him, no one could deny his presence. He approached Amanda with a broad smile and shook her hand in front of the cameras. "I told you we'd fix it," he said quietly. Amanda felt a lump in her throat. "You kept your word." As the ceremony began, Amanda found herself seated beside other veterans, men and women who had walked the same hard road she had. But today there was no shame, no invisibility. Trump spoke at the podium, his voice carrying weight and conviction. "This bill isn't about politics, it's about people. Brave men and women who served this country and deserve better." Amanda Reynolds' story moved me, and it should move every American. We cannot, will not, abandon those who fought for our freedom. The room erupted in applause as Trump signed the bill into law. When it was over, he handed Amanda the ceremonial pen. "You did this," he said. Amanda clutched the pen tightly, her heart pounding. In that moment, the years of pain and struggle melted into something new, hope. Later, as she stood on the White House lawn, a reporter approached her. "Sergeant Reynolds," he began, microphone extended. "A year ago, you were homeless. Today, you're changing the lives of veterans nationwide. What would you say to others who are still struggling?" Amanda met his gaze steadily. "Don't give up," she said. "You're not invisible. You matter. And sometimes the right person will stop and see you." As the sun dipped behind the Capitol dome, Amanda Reynolds knew her journey was far from over. But for the first time in a long time, she was walking forward, no longer alone. 6 months later, Amanda Reynolds stood on a stage in New York City, the bright lights of the auditorium gleaming against the deep blue of her evening dress. The room was packed with dignitaries, business leaders, and veterans, all gathered to celebrate the first annual Operation Second Chance Gala. Felt surreal. Only a year ago, she had been living in the shadows, surviving day by day under an overpass. Now she was a symbol of resilience, a voice for the voiceless, and tonight they were raising millions to continue the mission. Amanda glanced at the teleprompter as the event coordinator signaled her to begin. She took a deep breath and stepped toward the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady. "1 year ago, I was homeless, a forgotten veteran lost in the system. I had lost everything. My home, my dignity, my hope. But then someone stopped. Someone saw me. And because of that, my life changed forever." The audience fell silent, hanging on her every word. "I'm not here tonight because I'm special," Amanda continued. "I'm here because I was given a chance. And I'm here to make sure no veteran is ever left behind again." A soft murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. She smiled faintly. "We've come a long way. In just 6 months, Operation Second Chance has helped over 1,000 veterans secure housing, find employment, and access mental health care. But our work isn't done. Thousands more are still out there, waiting for someone to see them, to believe in them." Amanda paused, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Tonight we stand together, not as Republicans or Democrats, but as Americans. And together we can make sure no soldier who fought for this country ever has to fight alone again." The crowd erupted into applause, an outpouring of support that shook the room. As Amanda stepped back, the evening's host returned to the podium. "And now," he announced, "please welcome a special guest, a man whose compassion and action made all this possible, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump." The applause swelled as Trump walked onto the stage, his signature confidence radiating through the room. He shook Amanda's hand warmly before turning to the audience. "You know," Trump began, I meet a lot of people in my line of work, but some stories stick with you. When I met Amanda on a cold night in DC, it changed the way I thought about veterans' issues forever. His expression grew serious. These are the best men and women our country has. And for too long, the system has failed them. We're changing that. And Amanda, well, she's leading the charge. Turning back to Amanda, he smiled. I've been called a lot of things, but I know a fighter when I see one. And this woman? She's a fighter. Amanda's chest tightened with emotion as Trump reached behind the podium and held up a framed certificate. In honor of her tireless work and dedication, he announced, I am proud to present Sergeant Amanda Reynolds with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in our nation. The audience rose to their feet in a thunderous standing ovation. Amanda's hands trembled as Trump placed the medal around her neck. Tears welled in her eyes as she realized just how far she had come from the cold, forgotten streets to this moment of triumph. As the applause finally faded, Trump leaned toward her and said quietly, I told you we'd fix it. Amanda smiled through her tears. Yes, sir. And we're just getting started. 1 year later, Arlington National Cemetery. Amanda knelt beside a simple white headstone, tracing the engraved name of her closest battle buddy, Corporal Jessica Miles. You didn't get a second chance, she whispered, her throat tightening. But I promise, Jess, I'll keep fighting for the ones who do. The wind stirred the American flag nearby as she rose to her feet. Across the cemetery, other families stood in silent remembrance, a reminder of the cost of freedom. As Amanda turned to leave, her phone buzzed. A text from Stephen. Another veteran house today, #1543. We're making a difference. She smiled softly, looking back at the rows of headstones. The fight wasn't over. But thanks to the kindness of a man who refused to walk by and the fire she carried within, the forgotten were being seen again. And as long as there were veterans to help, Amanda Reynolds and Operation Second Chance would never stop.